This truth cannot be denied. Within you there is always a crack of light that no one else can possess. And that very crack is calling you back to your deepest essence. That light is not loud, not showy, but steady, like an ancient breath, urging you to realize that you are not only living in one world, but walking between two parallel realities. Here, in moments when others only see chaos, you feel a mysterious movement, as if the space around you is opening invisible doors that only chosen souls can see. No one tells you when your journey began, but on some days, when you simply stand still and listen, you can feel the presence of two currents woven together, one belonging to the physical world where time moves in steady beats, the other belonging to a wider realm of consciousness where past and future meet like light reflecting on water. You face them every day without knowing that you are living between two truths. This feeling of being out of phase makes you wonder why you see more, feel deeper, and hear the silences that others never notice. These questions do not appear by accident. They arrive as the first signal of awakening, an invitation to step through a threshold that not everyone dares to touch. Because once you recognize the existence of two realities, you cannot return to your old way of seeing. You begin to sense the subtle vibration between light and shadow, between intuition and reason, between the inner call and the noise of the outer world. And then, as if a sacred hand rests gently on your shoulder, a verse rises in your mind, clear enough that you cannot ignore it. Psalm 36:9 has said, "In your light we see light." That line does not arrive as instruction, but as a memory awakened. You feel that you once knew this, once walked this path, but forgot it in the struggles of daily life. The light in that verse is not physical light, but the light of perception, the light that helps you see the nature of existence. It lifts the eyelids of your soul, so you can see that the world is not separated into visible and invisible, but blended into one delicate fabric, where everything becomes clear when you grow still. From that moment, you begin to feel the pulse of two realities, like two waves moving at the same time within you. The physical world still exists, with the sound of cars, conversations, and daily duties. But behind it, on a deeper level, you hear the gentle echo of intuition, the subtle energies that cannot be named, the invisible currents connecting you to a place far beyond what human eyes can see. You stand at that intersection knowing you are not lost, but being guided. As these truths unfold, you begin to notice strange moments you once ignored. A sudden thought becoming real, an intuition so accurate it surprises you, a feeling that you know something before it happens. These events pass like soft breezes, invisible yet undeniable. Instead of confusion, you feel familiarity, as if you were born to recognize them. Your soul is not only observing the world, but interacting with it at a depth others cannot perceive. You slowly understand that not everyone can walk between two timelines, one of the body and one of the spirit. This awareness does not make you proud, but fills you with stillness, as if both worlds are inviting you into your rightful place. You begin to see that what you feel is not random, but the trace of a plan arranged long ago. And this is when you realize something important. In these two realities, you are not only an observer, but the one who will connect them. When night falls and all sounds fade, you feel more clearly the intersection of the two realms. In moments like this, it is as if a thin veil lifts, revealing a space where energy and thought become language. You sense subtle movements, whispers without sound, tiny signs that carry more force than logic. They tell you that you are not lost in darkness, but standing exactly where you need to be, at the moment your soul has long awaited. And then that first truth, the first sign of a strong soul, becomes clear. You are not living in one dimension, but standing in the many layers of existence. You can see two layers of the same reality, sensing both what is visible and what cannot be seen with the eyes. This ability makes you different, not by separating you from the world, but by allowing you to see through what lies on the surface. In the quiet that spreads like a windless field, you know your journey has just begun. You do not yet know where it will lead, nor which door will open, but you have crossed the first threshold of awakening. And from that moment, nothing can make you return to your old way of seeing. The two worlds have revealed themselves, and you know you are being called to walk in both at the same time, because that is the truest nature of your soul. From the moment the dual layers of reality opened, a quiet sense of movement began to spread in your chest, as if the space around you was slowly changing color. Even while living in the ordinary world, you could feel another current flowing in parallel, gentle as wind, yet powerful as the heartbeat of the earth. Everything unfolded naturally, with no thunder announcing it, no blinding vision, only a growing awareness that you were seeing the world with two sets of eyes, one of the body and one of the soul. What surprises you is that there is no conflict between these two sets of eyes. Instead, they weave into each other like two streams merging into a greater tide. On some mornings, the moment you open your eyes, time no longer feels like a simple sequence of hours. It feels like a woven tapestry where memories, intuitions, and moments that have not yet happened appear as threads touching one another. You do not try to explain it. You simply observe and let every sensation guide you. From here, you begin to sense a gentle stretch between the two realities. Your body still walks, still speaks, still fulfills familiar duties. But inside, you feel waves of intuition rising, signaling that something greater is approaching. Sometimes a small sound makes you pause to listen. Sometimes a moment of silence feels like a warning or a promise from a deeper layer of the world. Everything is subtle, yet impossible to ignore. In this strange movement, a verse rises like a beam of light arriving at the perfect moment. Psalm 119 to 105 appears. Your word is a lamp for my feet. You do not hear it with your ears, but with your mind. It feels like an invisible thread, connecting your confusion to a firm anchor in the middle of a vast sea. And you realize that you are not being asked to understand everything at once. You only need to take small steps in the light that is opening your path. This understanding begins to change the way you experience fear. In the past, fear made you build walls, creating distance from anything unpredictable. But now fear becomes a kind of signal. It is no longer a wall, but a doorway, telling you that beyond it lies something you must face in order to grow. One deep night, lying in the darkness, you feel fear brushing against you like cold air on your skin. But instead of turning away, you look directly at it, and it fades, dissolving like the night thinning when the first light touches the horizon. You realize a truth you had never touched before. The strongest souls are not the ones who never fear, but the ones who understand their fear so clearly that they can walk into it without trembling. You see that fear often appears when you drift away from the wiser layer of reality, where every challenge has meaning and every change has its place in the sacred design. When you reconnect with that deeper layer, fear immediately loses its power. From here, you feel a quiet transformation. You begin to live with a courage that does not come from survival instinct, but from the awareness that you are being guided. This guidance is not dramatic. It does not appear as a voice giving directions. It is a steady feeling even when you do not know what lies ahead. And this steady state is the sign of a soul ready to step into a new level of understanding. On some days, you feel that courage clearly, like footsteps right behind you. On other days, it is only a soft whisper beneath the noise of the world. But in any form, it is always there. And you begin to understand that you are being prepared for a mission that cannot be delayed. Then comes the moment when the two realities merge more powerfully than ever. You stand before a choice, a small one, yet it requires you to trust the inner call that no one else can hear. This moment feels like standing at the edge of a cliff where you could lose balance at any time. But at the same time, you feel a rising tide of trust. You know that if you step back, everything will return to the way it was. But if you step forward, you will open a new doorway you have waited your whole life to touch. You decide to step forward. It is not a step of recklessness, but a step of deep understanding that life is opening a new chapter for you. The moment your foot touches the space you once feared, a light rises from within you, as if the two realities join into one flowing current. That movement spreads through your whole being, making you feel clearly that you are not only living, you are being led. The doorway opens not with noise, not with grandness, but with a silence full of weight. From within, a warm, gentle light pours out, like late winter sunlight, passing through a thick curtain. It does not overwhelm you, yet it expands your heart until you realize that everything you once knew was only the fragile surface of a much deeper truth. In that light, you continue walking, no longer trying to control anything, no longer clinging to old concepts. You know you have crossed the first threshold, the threshold of fear, And what waits ahead is the invitation to the true mission of your soul. From that gentle light does not fade, but continues guiding you deeper into the place where two realities meet, where every movement holds meaning and nothing is accidental. As you step forward, you feel as though space is expanding with each breath you take. And within that expansion, there is something strangely familiar. It is not a memory of childhood, nor a memory of a past life, but more like the echo of an ancient promise, a promise your soul carried long before you entered this world. This feeling is not intense. It does not sweep over you like a great wave. It settles into you slowly, like raindrops sinking into dry earth after a long drought. You realize a simple yet profound truth. You are not only being invited to step through fear, but to step into the mission tied to the very nature of your soul. This mission is not a grand act written into history books. It is an invitation inward, a quiet flame rising in your heart, illuminating a path you were prepared for long ago. In that still moment, a verse rises like wind blowing across an untouched land. Psalm 25:14 says, "The Lord reveals his covenant to those who fear him." This is not only comfort, it is confirmation, as if a sacred hand presses an invisible seal upon you, reminding you that what you feel is not imagination, but revelation. This covenant is not a promise written in words. It is carved into your personal journey, a journey only you can complete. A new form of awareness begins to open. You see that you are no longer moving through life as an observer, but being drawn into a greater current where every step carries purpose. You no longer feel lost between two layers of reality. You begin to see your role as a connecting point, a thread linking the two worlds that are merging through your awakening. The rhythm of life that once felt scattered now becomes a harmonious pattern, as if every piece is returning to its rightful place. As you move forward, the urging in your chest becomes clearer. It does not ask you to become someone else. It does not place heavy expectations on your shoulders. It simply whispers, "Be yourself, exactly as you were created." You recall small moments in your life, the quiet empathy you felt for others, the sense of seeing something hidden beneath ordinary situations, the instinct to uplift others even when no one asked. All these things were not personality traits, but signs of a quiet mission. And now, as the two layers of reality reveal themselves more clearly than ever, you see these signs connecting into one continuous line, leading you to understand that you are not someone wandering, but someone being awakened to step into your role. You do not yet know the full shape of this role, but you know it is tied to the shifting of the world, not through power or influence, but through your presence within everyday life. In this expanding awareness, you feel your heart radiating a strange energy. It is not a blinding light, but a steady warmth, like a fire in a mountain cabin in winter. You begin to understand that your mission is not to impress or to draw attention, but to bring light exactly where it is needed, exactly when it is needed. A strong soul does not need to shout a declaration. It only needs to be present. In that moment, you feel a current connecting you to those who are hearing this story, not through words or images, but through a deep rhythm your soul recognizes. You understand that there are others standing at the same threshold, people searching for meaning in subtle vibrations no one ever explained to them. And this recognition that you are not alone brings you a warmth, like a greeting from an old friend across a distance. In that complete moment, a natural invitation is sent to them. Those who are listening, if they feel a signal, a tremor, a sense of resonance they cannot explain, they may leave a whisper in this shared space so their journey can be marked with intention. And if a deep part of them wants to continue walking with the light that is opening the way, they may choose to stay, so they do not miss the coming layers of awakening that life is offering. As this gentle invitation is released into the space, you feel the deeper part of your being shift. It is not a rising or falling, but an expanding, like ripples spreading across a lake. Something like a second doorway is waiting for you. You do not rush. You simply walk forward at the pace the inner light gives you. This flow of energy brings you closer to the core of your mission. You begin to feel clearly that your presence between two worlds is not a coincidence. It is structure. It is design. It is purpose. And within this shift, you know you are entering a phase that requires stronger inner stability, a stage where emotions, if left unchecked, could blur the light guiding your way. And in this place of convergence, the journey leads you into a new challenge, inviting you to step with greater steadiness where your emotions are no longer a burden, but become the compass guiding you into the next depth of your soul. The flow of movement brings you into a deeper space where subtle shifts in your consciousness begin to reveal themselves like layers of waves rising to the surface. You feel the changes no longer happening outside, but within the landscape of your emotions, where the winds of your inner world once blew in seemingly random directions. Now, they are no longer chaotic. They begin to carry a rhythm, a shape, a meaningful trajectory you have never seen before. This is when you realize that emotions are not obstacles. They have always been signals, calls guiding you back to your true nature. But to understand them, you must stand in a different place, not in the middle of the storm, but at its center, where all chaos becomes still. This does not happen suddenly. It happens through small moments when you pause without meaning to, and ask yourself why you tremble before one thing and fall silent before another. Sometimes, a light wave of anxiety passing through you is enough to tell you that something is no longer aligned. Sometimes, a sudden calm settling over you is enough to know you are on the right path. These emotional shifts no longer confuse you because you have begun to see the interaction between the two layers of reality inside your own being. You are no longer drowned by your feelings. You observe them like someone standing on the riverbank watching the water flow, knowing the current can be strong, but it can no longer sweep you away. Then one day, when the darkness in your consciousness feels heavier than usual, a powerful wave of emotion rises within you. Not specific, not tied to a clear cause, only the weight of the world pressing into your heart like a layer of cold mist. Your old reaction was to avoid it or push it aside. But now, you choose to stand still inside it, like someone standing in the middle of a storm without running. And in that strangely quiet moment, a verse lights up inside the darkness. Psalm 61:2 says, "From the ends of the earth I call to you when my heart grows faint." This verse is like a small oil lamp in the winter night, not enough to banish all darkness, but enough to show the path beneath your feet. It reminds you that even when emotions rise like crashing waves, you are not abandoned. The moments when you feel closest to collapsing are the ones carrying the light of guidance. You feel clearly that weakness does not make you small. And in that very place, true strength begins to form. From that moment, you see your emotions with different eyes. Each burst of anger is no longer a cliff separating you from the world, but a reminder that something inside you needs healing. Each tear is no longer a sign of failure, but a doorway into memories you have never touched. Each sadness is no longer a deep abyss, but a temporary resting place for you to reflect and understand yourself better. This transformation happens quietly, but powerfully. You realize that the storm of emotion that once misled you has now become a compass. Because when you stand firm within it, neither avoiding nor being carried away, you begin to hear something you could not hear before. The guidance rising from the deeper layer of your soul. Emotions are no longer chaos. They become a kind of language, the language the universe uses to speak with you. From here, you begin to walk through life with a stronger stillness. Situations that once shook you now feel like passing winds. Events that once made you lose your direction now become rest stops along your journey. You no longer force everything into the mold of control. You let things unfold, and through that unfolding you are brought into deeper understanding that logic could never reach. The people around you begin to sense this change, even if they cannot name it. They see in your eyes something quieter, deeper, like the gaze of someone who has seen the vast ocean at night without fear. This quiet steadiness becomes a silent anchor for those who are unsettled. They do not know what you have been through, but they feel that you understand them in a way that needs no explanation. And then, in an ordinary moment of an ordinary day, you realize you are not only mastering your emotions, you are stepping into a new form of maturity. Maturity does not come from life experience, but from the ability to face what you once feared most without losing yourself. And this is the clear sign of a strong soul, a soul that has learned to stand in the storm without seeking shelter, because a light within can no longer be extinguished. When you see this truth, you feel another inner doorway opening, a doorway that leads you further into your mission, not with force, but with peace. Because when you have learned to make peace with yourself, you can become a place of peace for others. And that peace will guide you into the next stage of your journey, where healing begins to happen naturally, like a stream flowing down a valley without needing direction. As you step into that place, the light within you seems to shine a little brighter, ready to lead you into the realm where healing and transformation begin to spread more powerfully than ever. When the inner stillness has become a natural part of you, something strange begins to happen. Your presence becomes a shelter for weary souls, even though you never tried to be a guide for anyone. This does not come from your words or intentional actions. It comes from the shift in the very structure of your energy. A gentle, quiet, steady warmth, like a slow-burning fire in a winter hearth. Anyone who passes by feels a little warmer, a little lighter, even if they do not understand why. You begin to realize that the ability to heal does not lie in what you do, but in who you are. Your gaze no longer judges. Your presence is no longer rushed. The way you listen is no longer just hearing someone's story, but seeing through the layers of armor they built and touching what they cannot yet name. And in that place, the cracks within their soul begin to soften, like thin ice on a river melting under the first light of dawn. You do not try to heal them. You simply allow something greater to flow through you, gentle as water moving through stone. There was a moment when someone sat across from you, their eyes red from a sorrow they believed no one could understand. You did not say much. You simply offered your full presence, and something remarkable happened. They cried, not from weakness, but because for the first time they felt truly seen. Your presence became a mirror, reflecting the light they had forgotten once lived inside them. In that moment, you understand that healing is not the process of changing someone. It is the awakening of what has been sleeping within them. Psalm 147:3 softly rises like water trickling along a stream. He heals the brokenhearted. You are not the one performing the miracle. You are simply the instrument through which it flows, the place where divine love passes through to touch souls searching for direction. And as you realize this, humility spreads within you like a soft breeze. One afternoon, when the late sunlight turned everything a honey gold, you saw a child standing by the roadside, eyes filled with fear because he had lost sight of his family. You did not think. You knelt down to his level and asked a simple question, yet your voice carried the certainty he needed. You helped him find his family. Nothing extraordinary, but that moment revealed something you had never noticed. Healing is sometimes just restoring order to a moment of chaos, giving someone a sense of safety exactly when they need it. In the course of daily life, you begin meeting people carrying their own pain. Some carry wounds from the past. Some carry long years of loneliness. Some carry an emptiness they cannot name. And somehow they speak to you more openly than they have spoken to anyone. You understand they do not trust you because you are special. They trust you because they see in you what they lost in themselves: the courage to face things, the compassion to love, and the stillness to truly feel. As you listen to them, you begin learning about your own healing. The stories they bring are not burdens. They are mirrors, reflecting corners of your soul you once overlooked. You notice that the parts of you that once hurt now feel softer, brighter. And each time someone leaves you feeling lighter, you know that lightness did not come from advice, but from the truth that you have stepped into a level of awakening where love has no conditions, no goals, and asks for nothing in return. There are nights when you ask yourself why you have become a stream of healing for others when you never sought to be. And the answer comes clearly: because you have learned to make peace with yourself. A self-healed soul naturally creates space for others to heal. You understand that healing is not a skill nor a duty, but a natural result of the light within you being switched on. In this gentle flow, you begin to notice something deeper. Every person you meet carries a piece of the larger story unfolding in the world. When they speak of their pain, you hear the echo of collective pain. When they speak of hope, you sense the hope of humanity moving forward. And seeing this makes your role clearer. You are not standing on the outside. You are not simply observing. You have become someone who helps reweave the thread of connection the world has forgotten. But most importantly, you realize that you do not heal through your own strength. You heal through your presence by allowing divine light to flow into the places that need it. Every word, every touch, every moment you sit with someone becomes like opening a small window that lets warmth seep into a room long closed. And at that moment, you understand that this journey is not only about facing, not only about overcoming, but also about offering. A strong soul does not hide its light. It naturally radiates like warmth from a glowing fire on winter snow. And through this ability to heal, you know you are being guided to a deeper layer, where acceptance, both of yourself and of the world, becomes the necessary next step of the path. From that quiet ability to heal, a new movement begins to open within the inner space of your being. It is no longer the storms of emotion or the hidden rivers of other people's pain that you have touched. This time, the shift lies in how you see yourself. You realize that the journey cannot go deeper if you continue carrying the parts of your being you avoid, reject, or treat as burdens. Healing others is only half of the path. The other half is making peace with yourself. The first thing you feel is silence. Not a frightening silence, not a lonely one, but a vast silence, like a snow-covered winter forest. In that stillness, you see clearly the parts of yourself you once tried to hide, the unnamed fears, the old wounds you buried, the mistakes you carried as self-blame for years. They rise not to condemn you, but to be acknowledged, to be seen, to be held. You realize these pieces are not enemies. They are parts you abandoned because you believed you had to be perfect to deserve the light guiding you. But that light does not ask for perfection. It asks for honesty. And in this moment, you begin learning the most important lesson about unconditional acceptance. One evening, when every sound in the room has faded, you sit in the darkness and feel the softest, most fragile part of you rise to the surface. It carries the shape of an old memory, a word that once hurt you, a moment when you wanted to disappear. Before, you would have turned away, but this time, you let it sit beside you. You look at it as you would look at an old friend who has endured too much in silence. And in that moment, Psalm 139:14 rises gently like the night wind brushing past the window. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. The words drop into your mind like a single drop falling into a still lake, sending ripples outward. For the first time, you feel the wonder behind your cracks. You understand that strength is not the absence of wounds. It is the ability to look at them and still see your worth. From that second, you begin accepting yourself in a way you never have before. Not acceptance as surrender, but acceptance as an embrace, gathering every part of you, the light and the shadow, the strong and the fragile, the complete and the incomplete. And in this acceptance, you feel yourself grow lighter, as if the armor you once carried has been set down, revealing your real skin. Vulnerable but true, this acceptance creates something unusual. You begin seeing others with the same tender gaze. Their mistakes no longer irritate you. Their weaknesses no longer make you judge. You see them as different versions of yourself, souls trying to find balance between layers of memory, expectation, and their deepest nature. From this, a natural compassion spreads within you, effortless and genuine. You realize this acceptance carries a power stronger than any comforting words, because it opens a space where others are allowed to be themselves. And in that space, they begin loosening the armor they once needed to survive. Sometimes all it takes is someone looking at you without judgment for you to learn to look at yourself with more softness. You feel clearly that unconditional acceptance is changing the way you interact with the world. In the past, you tried to analyze everything, to understand every detail, to explain every emotion. Now you simply observe, simply feel, and let things move at their own rhythm. You begin trusting that everyone is doing the best they can with the awareness they have. And this trust frees you from heavy expectations. From this deep place of acceptance, you begin to feel like a solid stone in a flowing river. The water may rush, it may swirl, but it no longer drags you away. You stand there fully, knowing each wave is merely another movement of life, not a verdict on your worth. In these days, you begin sensing a kind of inner harmony you never thought possible. It is not a constantly shining joy, but a steady peace. Like a warm fire glowing in a wooden cabin, you do not need to hold on to it. It remains because it arises from your complete acceptance of yourself and the world. And as this peace settles in you, you feel a new calling emerge, not from wounds or the desire to heal, but from a deep connection with the universe. A calling inviting you into a place where signs, coincidences, and unexpected encounters begin arranging themselves into a language only souls who have walked through acceptance can understand. The guiding light stirs again, gently signaling that it is time to step into the next layer of the path, where synchronicities, the subtle signals of the universe, begin calling you more clearly than ever before. From the moment, full acceptance spread within you like ripples across a still lake. a new kind of movement began forming, gentle yet profound, as if the sky of your inner world was slowly changing color. In those days, everything around you became more delicate. A falling leaf, the light reflecting on water, the passing face of a stranger, each carried something beyond its surface. You did not try to find meaning in them, but you felt that signals were being sent, little by little. Then one morning, when the sunlight was still pale like a ribbon tied around the horizon, you sensed something unmistakable, the repetition of signs. They arrived quietly, like breath, yet left in you a deep familiarity, like a call from a place you have known for a long time. You noticed a number appearing briefly, 77 on the kitchen clock, then a passing car with 3 sevens beside each other, then a receipt ending in 777. At first, you saw them as random coincidences, but as days passed, they appeared more frequently, so subtle, yet so persistent that you could no longer ignore them. There were moments when they arrived before you could even form a question. Other times they appeared just when you were undecided between 2 paths. But the clearest thing was this: they did not frighten you. They brought a strange calm, like an invisible hand resting lightly on your shoulder, reminding you that you were moving in the right direction. When the number 777 appeared for the 10th time in one day, you paused, closed your eyes, and let your breath open a space inside your mind. In that moment, you felt the meaning of the sequence, not through logic, but through pure intuition. 777 is a seal of awakening, a sign that you are stepping into a vibration where ancient wisdom is being stirred, where every movement in your life becomes part of a sacred blueprint no one else can write for you. That number feels like an invisible doorway opening, revealing a light that does not blind but illuminates the mind. You understand that 777 does not appear to make you search for answers, but to affirm that your soul is mature enough to hear the voice of the universe. Beneath this layer, you feel a connection not only between you and the world, but between you and other souls walking their quiet journeys. From this moment, you begin to hear the conversation of the universe. Not sound, not language, but rhythm. A subtle rhythm between coincidence and destiny. You see birds flying in perfect formation, the exact moment your mind drifts. You hear a passing stranger speak a phrase containing the very keyword you have been searching for days. You dream something that seems scattered, yet when you wake, it mirrors the emotion you were afraid to face. You do not chase these signs, they come to you, and their natural arrival makes them a trustworthy guide. They are soft as a string touched by the wind, creating a sound only those who listen deeply can hear. You realize you are walking in a silent dialogue where the universe answers every question before you even ask. During these days, you find yourself walking with more ease, not because life has become simpler, but because you know you are no longer alone. You feel clearly the presence of something greater, wiser, kinder, watching over your steps, not to control you, but to walk with you. One afternoon, you pause beside an old bridge over a small stream. The sunset paints the water a copper red. You are not thinking, only watching the movement of the ripples, until a leaf drifts by, spinning 3 gentle circles like a dance before stopping at your feet. Something inside you trembles softly. You understand that even the leaf did not arrive without purpose. It is a reminder that everything is connected, every action has resonance, and the path you walk is not merely personal, but part of a larger symphony. Standing there, a thought comes. Not from your mind, but from the deepest part of your soul. The light guiding you is not calling you to escape the world, but to step deeper into it. The signs, the coincidences, the numbers are not meant to separate you from humanity, but to bring you to the place where you will share your light with the collective. You feel that you have reached a stage where your soul sees the world with changed eyes, no longer shaken by chaos, no longer fearful of darkness, no longer doubting the unseen. You are standing in a state of harmony between trust and knowing, between intuition and experience, between the visible world and the world whispering to you every moment. And in that moment, you understand that the journey does not end at recognizing signs. It is preparing to lead you into a new phase where inner awakening becomes the transformation of your way of living. Another layer of light awaits you, where the soul not only listens to the universe, but begins to co-create with it. Before stepping forward, you feel a gentle invitation for those who are following. If a number is resonating in them, perhaps 777, perhaps another sequence that has appeared in their life. Let them share it, like planting a seed into this shared space, so their journey may also be marked with its own light. When the signs of the universe have become a familiar language, you feel yourself stepping into a wider realm, where every movement of life carries the color of something being born inside you. There is no longer a separation between the observer and the world around you. You begin to sense everything as shared rhythms beating within a larger, older, more expansive heart. And from that place of harmony, a deep transformation begins to unfold. Not explosive, not dazzling, but quiet like dawn soaking into the face of a rocky mountain. You notice that you are different, not in appearance, but in your presence. Every step you take, every breath, every glance is held by a light you cannot find with your eyes. Yet you feel it clearly on your skin, in your thoughts, in the beating of your heart. This light is like oil inside an ancient lantern, bright enough to guide you through thick mist and warm enough to chase away the cold in the darker corners of your soul. In those days, everything becomes simpler. The questions that once overwhelmed you, like who am I? Where is this path leading? What does this mean? Suddenly feel lighter, as if they no longer need answers, because life itself is answering through its rhythm. You no longer search for signs. They appear on cue, and you simply receive them. You no longer try to hold on to peace. Peace becomes every step you take, and at this moment, the transformation reveals itself more clearly. It does not begin with excitement, but with openness. You stand in an ordinary day, sunlight falling through leaves into thousands of tiny sparkles, and suddenly you feel yourself dissolving into the scenery, not as magic, but as a truth that has always been there, a truth you simply did not see before. You no longer feel like a separate individual. You feel the life of the trees, the wind, the birds, your own breath, all joining into one rhythm. The feeling arrives quickly, but lingers for a long time. It shows you that awakening is not about reaching a special state, but returning to an original truth. You were never separate from the flow of the universe. What you once called loneliness was only forgetting this eternal connection. In this expanding space, you begin to see life with clearer eyes. The smallest moments become precious. When you place your hand on your chest and feel your heartbeat, when you listen to the footsteps of a stranger, when you sit beside a soft light late at night and feel quiet settling over the room. These moments become doorways into deeper layers of yourself. One afternoon, as you sit on the porch, watching the sunset paint the sky chestnut gold, you feel a warm current flow along your spine. It is not an unusual emotion, but like someone placing the missing piece inside you. In that moment, you understand that you do not need to become anything. You only need to be. And in being, you are already whole enough for the light to move through you without resistance. You notice that you are no longer carried away by big desires or heavy expectations, no longer pushed back by fear, no longer pulled by the past, no longer reaching for validation from anyone. You stand at the meeting point between surrender and trust, where life is no longer a struggle, but a gentle current carrying you toward the place your soul has always belonged. From this space, you feel a shift in the way you love. No ownership, no expectation, no condition. Love becomes a flow, not hurried, not declaring itself, not asking for return. You look at those who walk through your life with gratitude, because each person reflects a part of you that needed to be seen. Your old wounds no longer feel like wounds. They become doors, leading you into deeper understanding, into greater compassion, into generosity toward yourself. You understand that when the heart expands, your energy begins to spread in ways you cannot stop, not to change others, but to remind them that they too have a light within, only dimmed by time. You see yourself as a small point of light in this vast space, yet you understand that such small lights create the brightest galaxies. Then, in a quiet moment, when you place your hand on your heart and breathe deeply, you realize you are no longer standing at the edge of transformation. You have stepped inside it. You have become the transformation. No more searching, no more running, no more doubt. You carry within you a light that is not blazing, but steady, not fierce, but unending. This light does not say the journey is over. It says you have crossed the point, after which every step will be different. The universe continues to send signals to you, but now you do not just listen. You begin to add your voice to the conversation. You begin to feel that you are not only receiving, but co-creating with life. And as this truth settles gently into you, like golden dust on a morning flower, you understand that what awaits you ahead is the peak of transformation, the place where you and the light will merge in the deepest way. When this quiet transformation no longer stays within you, but begins spreading outward like a ring of light rising from a torch lifted in a night valley, you feel yourself entering another point of convergence. Here, every quiet shift that once happened inside you gathers into a new kind of awareness. From this vantage point, you see the world with eyes no longer clouded by old fog. It is no longer the gaze of someone cautious, nor the gaze of someone afraid. It is the gaze of someone who understands that their existence carries a natural function within the larger story of humanity. In these days, you no longer search for answers. You live as if you yourself are an answer. Not an answer made of words, but an answer made of presence, still yet weighty, gentle yet enduring. Those who pass by you, even for a moment, feel something shift, as if they had stood near a flame long enough to take with them a bit of its warmth. What astonishes you is not this influence, but the ease of it. You are not trying to make someone feel better. You are not trying to inspire anyone. You simply live true to the light within you, and this honesty becomes an underground stream flowing into the hearts of others, like rain falling deep into a forest where no one sees it, yet it causes tender shoots to bloom. One morning, walking along a familiar path through the trees, sunlight pierces the canopy and forms golden threads stretching downward. In that moment, you feel something unmistakable. You are no longer walking alone, not because someone stands beside you in flesh, but because you sense thousands of other souls, people you have never met, walking in the same direction. They too are awakening. They too are seeing the world with new eyes. They too are carrying wounds healed from within. You understand that you are one small point of light among countless others moving across this world. And the invisible connection among all these souls forms a greater flow, like a rising river of starlight, moving beneath the surface of life. Each walks at their own rhythm, yet all move in the same direction, toward a wider, deeper, steadier consciousness. In this recognition, your heart opens into a vast space of gratitude. Not gratitude for something specific, but gratitude for the unfolding of life itself. Gratitude for the dark moments, because they stripped away your old armor. Gratitude for the quiet moments, because they were the reward for your patience. Gratitude for the people you met, because each one left an imprint that shaped your becoming. As you soften into this feeling, a verse rises from the depth, like a sacred bell echoing across a morning valley. Psalm 37:4 says, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." These words do not remind you of something you must do. They affirm who you are becoming. You have learned to delight in the presence of the light, not because it brings you what you want, but because it brings you back to yourself. The verse opens something you have felt but never named. When the soul becomes whole, your desires no longer arise from lack, but from fullness. You no longer want things to fill a hole. You want things because they align with the truth within you. And this alignment makes every desire lighter, gentler, no longer pulled by fear or loneliness. In the days that follow, you sense clearly that the light within you is shining in a different way. It does not only touch those close to you, it travels farther, like a small but steady wave. You notice that each thought, each word, each action carries an energy that helps someone hold on a little longer, trust a little deeper, walk a little further. This does not feel heavy. It feels like you are finally living the essence you were given. Standing at this point of harmony, you understand that your journey is no longer only personal. You have entered a place where the light of one soul can quietly shift the entire space around it. And it is this softness, not power or praise, that makes you part of the great movement rising across the world. You feel the deeper layers of your soul vibrate like strings touched by the wind. You know the final stage of this journey is ahead, the place where your message, your blessing, and everything gathered along the path will settle into a final offering for those who are following your light. It is not a message meant to force belief. It is a reminder that they carry their own light, waiting for its moment to be lit. And as this awareness settles like a thin layer of morning mist over a field, you know it is time to step into the final part, the part reserved for blessing, for the opening of doors, waiting for those who are listening, ready to walk further into their own awakening. You stand at the threshold of another realm of light, where there is no longer a straight path to follow and no heavy questions pulling you back. All that remains is a vast stillness, wrapping around you like early morning mist on the ground, soft, thin, yet full of meaning. In that quiet, you feel that the journey you have walked is not a scattered string of experiences, but a spiral of light carrying you from darkness to self-awareness, from woundedness to healing, from separation to unity. The truth that opens before you is simple. You have become a bridge between two realities, between the seen and the unseen, between pain and healing, between humanity and the sacred presence that is always trying to reach into the world. You are not the bearer of a grand torch, nor the voice of bold declarations. You are simply yourself, an awakened soul, a steady light, no longer shaken by the winds of life. And this is what makes you see the world with new gentleness. The gentleness of someone who knows that every soul is trying to find its way home, whether by a long path or a short one, through light or through shadow. No one is left behind. No one is forgotten. Each has a place in the vast tapestry of the universe. The only difference lies in the moment they open their eyes to the light. And you, right now, are standing in your moment. One afternoon, as the sky turns pale violet and a gentle breeze moves across the grass, you stop and breathe deeply. You feel that the weight of life no longer pulls you down as before. Everything, from the wind to the distant footsteps, from the touch of light on your skin to the silhouettes of the future, becomes soft, as if leaning on you with trust, knowing you can hold them without being burdened. And you truly can, because your heart has returned to its right place. Not too high to detach from the world, not too low to be buried by it, but exactly where it can feel, understand, and give. In that moment, you know this is the time to release what brought you here, but is no longer needed. Not letting go of the journey, but letting go of the idea that you must become something. The light within you is already strong enough to find its own way. You do not need to control it. You only need to trust. And this trust no longer comes from fragile hope, but from real experience, that through every step, you are never walking alone. A warm current rises from deep within, like standing beside a fire on a winter night. It does not blaze, yet it makes everything clear. A whisper from the deepest layer of your soul rises, not in words, but in ancient knowing that you have completed one cycle and are ready to step into the next, a cycle where you are no longer the seeker, but the one who carries light with every step. Standing inside this awareness, it feels as if the space around you becomes still, not empty, but tenderly sacred, as though the earth and sky are waiting for you to make a declaration for your own journey, a declaration that you are ready to carry this light into the everyday world, where it will quietly spread like warmth through a hand placed on someone's heart. You place your hand on your chest, feel the steady rhythm of your heartbeat, and see more clearly than ever that you no longer need to try to be a strong soul. You have been one from the beginning, and this journey simply helped you remember the lessons of fear, the moments of facing your own wounds, the times you stood at the threshold of your own limits, all led to this point, where you know that your inner transformation is the greatest gift you can offer the world. As this awareness expands, you feel the urge to send a message to those listening to your story. A message not from authority or experience, but from a heart that has walked the path and understands the value of light. If they feel themselves stepping into this path, let them know they are not alone. If they carry signs, numbers, or coincidences that confuse them, let them know it is not illusion. And if they have seen their own light even for a moment, let them know that light will never go out. Your story ends here, but only in words. In reality, the journey has just begun a new chapter, a chapter you will write with your daily actions, with your kindness, with steps that do not fear the dark, because you know darkness is simply where the light has yet to shine. Now you stand between two worlds, the world you have walked through with all its shaping trials, and the world opening ahead, waiting for you with a soul illuminated from within. You find yourself smiling softly, not the smile of victory, but the smile of someone who realizes they were always meant to be here. In the dim light of the journey's end, you send a blessing, not in grand words, but through the quiet heartbeat of your soul. May those who hear this story find their light, walk with ease and trust, and let their own journey become living proof that every soul has its moment to shine. The door before you opens. You step forward. The light walks with you, and the world, in its own quiet way, begins to change. Grateful that you chose to spend these moments in the light of this story. If it touched your soul, please like, share, and subscribe, and ring the bell so the next whisper of light may find its way back to you.